Welcome back to the Blue Blood Rivalry TV podcast, your home for Duke and Carolina basketball. This week, tobacco mode rivalry is heating up. Duke is sitting at 18-2, narrowly escaped Wake Forest and NC State, while Carolina clawed past Boston College and lost to Pitt. But let's be honest, all eyes are on Saturday, February 1st. That's when the Titans clash at Cameron Indoor Stadium. We'll break down both team performances, analyze their strengths and weaknesses, and try to predict who will come out on top of this epic battle. So grab your favorite Blue Devil or Tar Heel gear, prepare for a heated discussion on the greatest rivalry in college sports called the Blue Blood Rivalry. This is Blue Blood TV. Let's get it! The Duke-UNC rivalry is upon us. What's up, Will? What's up, Daryl? How are you guys?
What's going on, fellas? How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. I'm not sure how Will is, but I'm glad to see him today.
It's been a rough week, man.
Yeah, Will, it's been really rough with you, man. How are you feel? How are you feeling after last night?
You know, we need money. I'm just chalking it up to that, man.
Oh, so you're starting to agree with me? You need NIL money.
I never disagreed with you about that, man. I mean, hey, we hope you can make the most with what you've got, but we need money, man. We're too small.
Okay, well, before we get into it, I will tell you the saver for UNC athletics, UNC basketball is Mr. Jerry Stackhouse. You need Jerry Stackhouse. You need a dominant male in the coaching position that wants to win, that exudes winning, that can recruit the right kids. That's what you need, Will. Sorry, I'm right again.
It's literally just money at this point, man. I'll take anything.
It's not money, Will, and you're gonna find that out during the football season. It's gonna be hyped. It's not just money. You need the right coach that has the right character that can bring in the right guys.
The problem
and bring in the right money too, because if Stack was in there, I think right now he'd be, or even in the offseason, he would have been demanding more money than Hubert did.
And that's the point. That's the leadership point. The leadership point is Jerry would have went public and say, "Hey, if you want to win, we need more money."
Yeah. It's frustrating as shit, man. I don't know what else to say.
All right. Well, Daryl, how you feeling, Daryl? You feeling good?
I'm feeling really good, man. We just beat up on the little cousin. We're ready to see the little brother here this weekend. I'm feeling great, Hassan.
All right. You beat up on Michael O'Connell at point guard. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can only beat up on who steps up to try to fight you, right?
Yeah. Michael O'Connell's mom went to high school with me. Good friend of mine growing up. And it was nice to see her son on the court for NC State in the other sort of party crasher rivalry, NC State versus Duke. So, Daryl, you're really excited about getting non-top 25 wins and unranked opponents. Is that how you feel good about that?
Yeah, I'm excited about not losing the game in a long time, Hassan. That's what I'm excited about. But I can't say the same for Will.
Okay. Let's get into it now. So, Daryl, Duke is ranked number 2 in the nation. How much pressure does that bring?
Due for a letdown.
And how are they handling
it? I think it does bring an immense amount of pressure. But what part of this rivalry doesn't bring pressure, right? Duke could be 8-12, or or 18-2, and there's going to be a lot of pressure when it comes to this game. I do think that the expectations being lower for Carolina, obviously makes it easier for them to play more freely. But at the same time, I think there's pressure regardless. There was pressure coming into the season. This team was big hype all season or all preseason, and they are backing it up right now. Obviously, we laugh, we joke. ACC is unranked, but you can only play the teams that step in front of you, the teams that are on your schedule. And
I
also
love
at the
that
end
you
of the
say
day, it's
that
college
now.
basketball. It's college basketball. There's upsets happening all over the place. And Duke's not one of those teams that are getting knocked off. So I think that it says a lot right now that this Duke team has held it together against well, it's not stiff competition, some big rivalries, NC State, even Wake Forest, who is very good at home. I think Duke has done a great job of holding it together leading up to this game.
Okay, so let's look at these wins, Daryl, that you're bragging about, feeling so good. NC State unranked. You won by 10, 74-64. But I mean, that was a game, don't you agree?
Absolutely. They were down most of the game. And I think that's one of those games, and I mentioned it on the previous episode, where you're looking ahead to the big rivalry, right? The big game on Saturday, and you take somebody for granted because NC State's been bad all year. And I think that it was very clear that Duke wasn't taking them very seriously, but when they needed to turn it on, they turned it on. And I
Okay,
think
what
that
about that?
that's
What about Wake Forest? That game could have went either way as well. I mean, you
absolutely.
won by 7 points.
And Wake is a really good team at home, as we saw
A
last night
really
against
good
Carolina.
unranked team at home. Let's
Absolutely, a really good unranked team at home. They have a different mindset. It looks like when they're playing at home rather than they're playing away. And I think Duke holding it together in their home court or on their home court, to me, it's good. I'm not sitting here saying that Duke's beating stiff competition. That right now Duke is dominating
Duke is
against
beating
dominant teams.
unranked competition.
Duke's not losing. Duke's
Daryl,
not losing.
I love you saying all you can do is beat the opponents that are in front of you, because every time I've said that, you've given me shit about it. I
Well,
love
you
that
guys have
suddenly
also
now that y'all are doing that, it's okay.
Well, you guys also lost to your opponents. I mean, when you were saying it, you guys also weren't you were losing too. I mean, we haven't lost in what 13 games?
Yeah,
Because you haven't played any ranked
don't play
opponent.
anybody.
Well, maybe the team should get better, Hassan. Maybe Carolina should start winning games and we could play a ranked opponent. But guess what? They're losing. They're losing, brother.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the team chemistry. Daryl, in my opinion, I watched both games. I watched the Boston College game. I watched the Wake Forest game. I watched the NC State game. And I I have to be honest. I didn't think Duke played well against Wake Forest. I thought the offense looked like there was no offense. And I'm talking from the perspective of not Duke being the best team in an unranked conference. I'm talking about it from the perspective of gameplay. I'm talking about what my eyes see. I'm talking about the eye test. Um, I I'm not convinced here. Convinced. I watched an SEC matchup, Kentucky, Tennessee, and one team had to lose, but they're losing to ranked teams within their conference, right? So one has to lose. But what I'm seeing with Duke in terms of the offense is concerning me. I mean, are you not seeing any concern?
I wouldn't say I'm not at all
No, you need to
concerned.
tell people what you're seeing, Daryl, and you need to tell them the truth, and you need to
I,
tell them that this number 2 ranking might not be a real number 2. It might be a
I
fiction.
don't agree with that. I've seen Duke against really good teams and they've beaten those teams. Do I think Duke's offense is its best attribute? No, I don't. I think that defensively that they are really good. I think offensively at times they can be a bit stagnant. And you've mentioned it that they can rely on Cooper Flag and trying to get Cooper Flag his. But I also believe that when they turn it on, they can put up 10 to 12 points in a 2 minute span like it's nothing. And we saw that against NC State. Yes, unranked competition. I completely get it, right? But I also believe that they have moments. They're young. They're still a young team. They don't have a lot of players who are more than a sophomore, really. And I think that at times they could just kind of, just it's the lull of it all, right? They're just asleep. They're better than everybody else. So why are we going to put our foot on the gas all the time? But when they do, they're going 0 to 100 real quick.
Okay, here's what I see. What I'm going to say that you're being honest with your fans is the defense. And I think that defense is led by Sion James. I think Sion James at the top of the key running over picks, staying with his man, putting pressure on the opposing team's point guard with his height, size, weight, everything, is the best thing that's happening on Duke's defense. Tyrese Proctor, in this new offense, I'm not sure Tyrese Proctor is playing as poorly as he is, or is the Cooper Flag show just taking away from everything that he can add to the offense? Kamam Malawak, I'm not even sure he's healthy. He didn't look healthy the last game with throwing up all over the place. And Con Canoopel, last game, NC State, 19 points. I don't think he can get those points against a ranked team.
I think Duke has two things. I'm gonna jump in for a sec. Two things about Duke is the slow starts are going to come back to bite him in the ass at some point in time. And the number 2 ranking, I mean, all these teams keep losing ahead of them. They're just in it. The ACC is weak, and they're taking advantage of it. And so I'm not, Hassan, I'm with you, man. I'm not convinced on the number 2 ranking at all.
Well, good thing that you guys don't have to be convinced. Listen,
That's totally fine. I'll sit and watch you guys choke again.
I agree. I agree, Hassan, about Tyrese Proctor. I think that he somewhat disappears in this offense. I liked him earlier in the season, about halfway through the first half of this season. But I will say that lately he seemed to have disappeared. And I don't know that it's just the Cooper Flag show, but I think it's because they have a lot of talent. Isaiah Evans, same thing. We saw him light up Auburn in that first half. He started playing more minutes. But this game against State, I barely saw him out there. He was pretty much non-existent. There's a lot of talent on this Duke team. And I think that it's not just the Cooper Flag show. Yes, it is the Cooper Flag show. But I think it's also just the fact that they have a lot of talent. There's 9 guys on this team.
But that's the problem, Daryl. I hear you saying that, right? But the problem is to get everybody in the roles, get everybody playing together, and maximizing the efficiency that everybody brings to the table. You can't tell me Tyrese Proctor is only worth 4 points against NC State. It's just the offense. There are going to be
games, though, Hassan. There are going to be games where, yes, Tyrese Proctor only scores 4 points. There's going to be games where he drops 15 to 20. That's just the nature of having 9 guys who could do it any given night.
Daryl, the only player, the player that I think is playing in a system for the team, we've discussed this, is Sion James. Sion James he had 13 points, but those are 13 points that he had to take because the shots were just simply there. This guy is the only one on that team. And Kamon Walawak is doing it. Tyrese Proctor is doing it. But they're playing for the team. The guy that I do not see that is playing for the team, that is playing for the hype, is Cooper Flag. And I'm going to tell you that Cooper Flag, in my opinion, is going to be the Achilles heels of Duke for 2 reasons. He's getting it done at the rim against unranked opponents. And I don't think he has enough bounce to get to the rim against higher quality opponents. I don't think Con Canoopel, who got 19 points against NC State, is going to be able to see the rim against bigger, better, longer, stronger athletes. And that's why I feel like the Duke situation should be a red light right now. Everybody's like, give me that green light, right? But I think it's a red light. And before
we move forward, listen, you like to throw shade at Cooper Flag, so I got to ask you, where'd you get those shades from, son?
They're blue blood shades. Let me show you. The blue blood shades. They're blue blood rivalry shades. Our 5K is coming up in a month from now, March 8th. And we like to dress our runners out with swag, right? So I got blue blood.
Sir, those are swaggy right there.
I got blue blood shades, and since I was coming on here today to talk about the rivalry, I just wanted to make sure that I had the blue blood stuff. I chose Carolina today, but Will, on that segue, let's go to you. I don't want to let you off the hook.
I don't. I should. We don't.
Okay. UNC is 13-9. That's the record, Will, and currently unranked and losing to unranked opponents. What's the problem, Will? I think I told you the problem early on this season. There's two problems.
We're too small. One.
Yes, that's one. Good job, Will. What
Yay.
else, Will?
And no depth.
Well, I don't know if it's that you don't have depth. I think that
in that Pitt game, Jalen Washington was unavailable. We're already small enough. He's our tallest player. He's our biggest player, and he's been playing well lately. But I mean, that game shouldn't have gone to overtime against Boston College, and he got hurt in OT. Like
he got lucky to win that game against Boston College.
Absolutely.
It was the most horrible. The Boston College coach was the most horrible coach that I ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was bad. That was
bad coaching. I'll tell you why. He was having trouble getting the ball inbound. He had 2 opportunities to inbound the ball, and he was unsuccessful. When he did get the ball in, he called a timeout. And all he had to do was run the baseline and get the damn ball in. Okay? Yeah. And get the ball in. And he wins that game. I mean, you guys should be 12-10. Boston College didn't lose that game. The coaching lost that game. That's a whole nother conversation. But the second problem you have, besides the size, is you don't have another dominant player like RJ. RJ, I feel bad for RJ because the buckets he's getting are so difficult. And he has to make it happen. And he doesn't have a go-to guy to help him, and I'm thinking last night, love him or hate him, he had an effing problem. The girl is gone. Caleb Love would have been helpful.
I was going to say, don't feel bad for RJ because he ran off the second half of his dynamic duo off of a woman, as we've discussed, and we'll leave that where it's at. But don't feel bad for RJ. He's getting exactly what he wants. He's getting all the shots. Yeah, they're difficult shots. He's got to dribble to make it happen. But at the end of the day, this was what he asked for. This is what he came back for.
The problem last night straight up was Jalen Washington was out. We didn't have our only big guy. And Elliot Cadeau goes into foul trouble, and we go cold for 4.5 minutes. Like
the problem with
these problems are we're shooting ourselves. They're self-inflicted. We're shooting ourselves in the damn foot. It's frustrating.
The problem with Elliot Cadeau is they are not. He's getting his shots because if you watch the games, and Daryl, if you watch these games, and Will, they don't guard him.
No, not at all.
They guard the paint. They step back. They say, "Okay, Elliot, you can have the shot, right?" And he cannot.
I'm surprised they don't mention that on the broadcast.
And they don't mention it on the broadcast. They say, Elliot, you can have the shot, and if you make it, okay, great. But we don't. We've done the research. We've looked at the tape. You're not going to make enough of them. Okay, and then we're going to put more pressure in the paint so RJ can't get there. Okay, and then you have and then the buckets that Elliot Cadeau gets are so the difficulty factor because he doesn't have the bounce in the paint. They're like a 9 of 10 difficulty with the size and strength that he provides in the lane.
Really, so you look at that game, we were up 8. Elliot Cadeau goes out with his second foul, and at the end of the day, man, the Pittsburgh had a 22-4 edge off of miscues. Like it's self-inflicted BS. These guys should not be making these miscues. Like we're too far along in the season, and Elliot Cadeau's he's not a freshman anymore, man. Like you can't make these miscues. You can't have stupid fouls. We lost because we put him on the line 22 times, and it's just frustrating to watch.
And you also lose because Elliot Cadeau seems to turn the ball over. And it could just be me at the wrong time, consistently in close games.
He doesn't have a ton of turnovers, but they're always at the worst possible.
He doesn't have a ton of turnovers because he's not being guarded. Okay, they're allowing him to bring up the court. They're allowing him to see the rim. But when he has to push the ball and he's pushing, he creates a turnover at the absolute wrong time. Daryl, what do you think about that?
It just also looks like Hubert doesn't have control of this team. It's a lot of guys out there who seem to just be playing, a lot of times just to seem to be going through the motion. And Ian Jackson, right, at times it looks like he's probably trying to prove himself to be an NBA prospect. And RJ Davis is trying to get his shots off because he came back this year I don't know that he came back to win a national championship or if he came back to try to improve his draft stock, which doesn't look really good right now. And at times, even Drake disappearing is amazing to me that Hubert can't find a way to incorporate the talent that he has. I know you guys don't have a big man. I get it. We've been talking about it all year. But Alan Lubin starting at the big this game around because you didn't have Jalen Washington. I get it. But at the same time, a, there's talent on this team, right, Will?
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like Hubert Davis is utilizing and maximizing the talent that he has. I'm seeing RJ dribble the clock out.
Daryl, I agree with you to a point, man. But Hubert can't make shots, and when you let your opponent finish the game on a 14-2 run, that's not on the coach, man. That's on the players.
I agree, but
Got
I'm
to hit
watching
shots,
RJ.
and the coach isn't responsible for hitting the shots. So the frustrating thing about this team is that I'll put the blame on Hubert for not putting the right pieces in place, man. Like if you look at the guys we brought in the portal who were supposed to do something, they haven't. Ty Claude hasn't done anything. The kid from Belmont hasn't done anything. So, like, it's some of the blame should be on Hubert, but cheap fouls and miscues at the wrong time and not hitting a shot in the last 4 minutes of the game that's on the players. And at some point,
But in that last 4 minutes, there were several possessions where they just dribbled the basketball until there was 10 seconds left. And even the commentators are like, they're dribbling the air out of the basketball. RJ's just dribbling the ball. Or if RJ doesn't have the ball, eventually the ball comes to RJ and RJ's dribbling the ball. Ian Jackson is trying to make something happen. And I'd love to believe that Pitt's defense is tenacious, right? But it looks like Carolina just doesn't have a game plan. Like they don't have plays. Like Hubert is not being the coach that Roy Williams was.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think at the end of the day, man, like you've got to put yourself in situations to win. And the most frustrating thing about this is that we had a chance to win. That Pittsburgh game was winnable. All these games have been winnable, and it's frustrating as shit to not see us play a full 40 minutes week out every game. We don't play a full 40 minutes.
I think Hubert has to go with the war with what he has. And I think what I told you a couple of weeks back, Elliot Cadeau has to hit the bench for a few reasons. One of the reasons is RJ needs to be on the ball, right?
I think Cadeau's the guy. He's shown ability to set the tempo, man.
And Cadeau, I mean not Cadeau, Tremble, yeah. Tremble needs to be in the 2 guard. And because Tremble has enough bounce in the lane to get there, okay? And he can jump over them. So I think he needs to see more looks. And I think the Tremble RJ combination would put a lot of pressure on the defense rather than Tremble sitting out and playing the 3, which is too small. Okay. Yeah. Then I think you just you put Van Lubin, you go with Ian over at the 3, and then you figure out who your power forward is, right? I think the UNC needs to go bigger. I think Elliot Cadeau is just too small. He makes the team too small to be competitive. And
I think
that's what I think.
Right. I think we also don't have another dog outside of RJ.
Well, we said that. His name is Caleb Love.
Somebody to step up, man.
His name is Caleb Love.
We can keep talking about Caleb Love. He hadn't played for us for 2 years, man. We need somebody else that we have on this current roster to step up, whether that's Ian Jackson or Drake Powell or Elliott.
It's Drake Powell. Just Drake Powell. Drake Powell shouldn't be putting up 5 shots in the game against.
Drake Powell.
Not at all.
It should be Drake Powell.
I think Drake Powell's fantastic, and we need to get more out of him, though. We need to utilize him.
You got to play him. You got to play him. That's the thing. Duke Carolina fans, download Duke Carolina, the Blue Blood Rivalry film on iTunes or Apple TV or wherever you get your VOD downloads.
Hey, Queen. Queen, you know you my guy, right? I'm always putting for you. Tonight, when you step on the court, I step on the court too, and we in it.
There's only two games that matter. It's the North Carolina game at Duke and the Duke game that's at North Carolina.
When we wake up on game day, there's a knot in my stomach. We've been up since 6 a.m. this morning watching recorded Duke-Carolina games.
I watched the Rivers shot
about 15 times.
Yeah.
Rivers on his own. Yes, at the buzzer.
We're here for the Duke game.
And it is 10 hours and 9 minutes till game time.
The Blue Devils win 85-84.
Nothing better than North Carolina and Duke. It is the best rivalry in all of college basketball. Hall of Fame coaches, great players, and usually so much at stake.
And that's it. Carolina's won it.
The fans have as much to do with the rivalry being great as the players and the coaches.
It's 5 hours before game time.
Well, there's no question that the rivalry is there every day in our community.
Can you imagine what it would be like around here if people didn't have it? It would be terrifying.
We are 30 minutes away from tip-off.
It's one of the most exciting events you can be a part of, and I still say it's not the biggest rivalry in college basketball. It's the biggest rivalry in all of sport, bar none.
It's game time!
Prepare for Duke and North Carolina to face off like never before. Blue Blood Rivalry 5K! 5K! Sign up one, sign up all. Students, families, alumni, locals, non-locals, everyone! And you don't even need to be from UNC or Duke, because we have a Party Crasher division. Party Crasher! Come state, week, UVA, anyone, and join the fun. Crash their party! But the real battle is between the Blue Devils and the Tar Heels. Before it's settled on the court, it'll be settled on the race course. But there's more. There will be a special basketball dribble division where each participant will travel the race course dribbling a basketball. Dribbling a basketball? Hell yeah! That's cool! So sign up now! Attention all racers, prepare for the event of a lifetime. The race course will most certainly decide a champion.
But Daryl, let's jump back to Duke. With an 18-2 record, you said the biggest strength of this team was the defense. Is what needs to improve, and you better be honest, because I'm gonna come down your throat if you don't say it.
Always gonna be honest, Hassan.
Be honest.
I think I do believe that what I've noticed lately, what I've been a little concerned about is rotationally for Duke. Like I said, there's a lot of talent, right? But I think that playing your starters, Cooper Flagg this past game against NC State played 37 minutes. Con Knipple played 35 minutes. Tyrese Proctor played 33. Sion played 34. The guys on the bench are 8, 7. Mason Gillis did get 16 minutes, but he was the most. Everybody else was in single digits. I've talked about this team having an immense amount of talent. I think narrowing it down to a 6 or 7 man rotation of significant minutes to me is a little bit worrisome, just because there is a lot of talent on this team. And I think that's how you end up with results like Kaman Maluach throwing up all over the court, right? If you're running the crap out of these guys, yeah, they're 19-year-old kids, but also if they don't have to be out there, if the next man up is just as good as the man before him, maybe you should play that guy. And I think that is my biggest concern going in, is that I want Duke to lock in on a rotation, and I'm hoping it's more than just a 6 or 7 man rotation, but they've got to give these guys some minutes and keep these guys happy. It's a little concerning looking at now we're starting to cut down when most of the year we've been running 9 guys at pretty significant minutes.
Yeah, and I think the other issue is the agenda, right? The agenda is not to play the best basketball that Duke can play. I feel as though the agenda is, how can we win and get Cooper Flagg big numbers, right?
They're almost predictable.
And become super predictable. Like
yeah.
you have guys on your bench that can play. Like you have guys. Isaiah Evans can shoot the 3 ball. Like, how do you get him in to your offense, right? Patrick,
3 minutes this past game is unacceptable for Isaiah Evans.
I agree. Patrick and Goba, right? Like, how do we get this 6'10", 6'11" guy minutes to play, because you may need him against Kentucky, against some of the better teams. You may need two big men in the paint, right? But Patrick is not developed. Isaiah Evans, we don't know what he can do. Mason Gillis, he's starting to come on. And Caleb Foster has basically factored his way out of the program, in my opinion. So
yeah, I can see him in the transfer portal this coming year for sure.
And if I were Caleb Foster, if I were Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, I would just run right across the street to Carolina. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. If you're listening, that's what I would do.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was going to say, just like Will said, I'm sure they would take him right about now. I agree with you. I even seeing it on ESPN as far as the agenda is concerned, Cooper Flag is what they want to push. They want him to be the next big thing. And unlike you, I do think that he's extremely talented, but I also do see the agenda and them trying to create the narrative. I watched him the other day. Two-handed dunk was a nice dunk, right? It could have been the number 10 dunk maybe on the countdown. They made it number 3 or number 4, and it was a nice dunk, but it was just a nice dunk. It wasn't.
Let me tell you something. The nastiest dunk that I saw this past 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I believe it was the Pitt dunk last night on Carolina.
Man, dude was flying in the air like Superman.
And then he had to catch it. And then he didn't just dangle on the rim. He had to, because he came through so hard that he had to break his fall. He had to take the rim, right? He had
that was the number 7 best play last night. The number 7 best play.
Right, because of the agenda, right? ESPN
Just saying it. I get the agenda, but that was an amazing dunk. That was an awesome dunk.
You're talking about the Pitt dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal dunk. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you talk about the bias of the media agenda, the media, everybody's around about this Cooper Flag thing because they want to build ratings, that Cooper Flag must-see television. And he's a good player. But when you really look at the game and you say, man, he finished that one. But if that guy was 6'11", could he have finished that one? If you look at him and said, oh, that dunk, but that guy was 6'6". He's 6'9". What if he had an SEC guy in the paint? Does he get that one, right? And those are the questions that I'm asking when I'm seeing a 6-foot point guard over at Carolina named Elliot Cadeau, and I'm seeing him against lesser opponents do his thing. And I'm saying, if he goes to the SEC and he's playing Tennessee, he's playing Alabama, he's playing Auburn, can he get that bucket? And my question is, no. And that's the problem I'm having. That's the red flags I'm having, is you're building this whole game around Cooper Flag. And I'm not sure he's got enough bounce to get to that rim against the top 5 teams. That's really it.
Yeah, I think they're taking advantage. I mean, they're good, right? Duke, nobody's gonna ever argue that Duke is talented, right? They're got to be one of the more talented teams in the country. The problem is that their offense is so stale and predictable, and their scheme and everything, that if they're winning games off of just skill right now and their athleticism or whatever you want to call it, and when they go up against one of these Big Ten teams, SEC teams, Big 12 teams, I don't know if they're going to be able to get away with it.
All right, so let's switch to the rivalry. It's upon us. Duke Carolina, Saturday night at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And this game is always a huge game, guys. But Will, I'm going to ask you, what are the keys to victory in this matchup? Now, I say victory because do I think Carolina can go to Cameron and win? Yes. Likely? No. But can they? Yes. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that this rivalry means everything. And for Carolina to salvage their season, winning in Cameron would do exactly that. So
I feel like that would generate a lot of momentum.
Yes. So Will, talk to me. What would a win against a ranked opponent do for Carolina?
I think it would help turn the season around. I think right now there's not a lot of confidence. We have no momentum. We've been up and down all season. It's super inconsistent. And I think that this would really push us in that right direction to fucking turn the season around. Sorry for my language, but I feel very passionate about it.
Okay, so what has to happen, Will?
I think there may be 3 or 4 keys to it. I think we got to get to the charity stripe. You look at that Pitt game; they had 20 attempts from the free throw line. We had 9. You're not going to win a game when you're shooting double digits fewer than your opponent. I think we need to stay out of foul trouble. We're not deep, and our margin of error is slim. So we've got to cut down